I want to start talking about your show, The Republic of Sarah, on the CW. Um, I find it's a very interesting show. I think it's a really creative idea and it's executed really well. Um, how did you feel when you first read
Thank
the
you.
script, or what in particular drew you to this project?
Yeah, so when I got the script, I was actually in LA doing the whole pilot season run. It was actually my first pilot season, coming off of doing, 6, 7 years of musical theater on the road. So it was a lot. So getting all these different scripts and having the time to connect with them was really hard. But once I got the Republic of Sarah and I read the character of AJ, I just was immediately drawn to just the power that was in it, just this character of Sarah that just had so much audacity, and then her friends who are around her just who also had audacity just to dream big and go for what they wanted, and then also just create this space where we could create a moment of what if. So I think that's what drew me to it.
No, that's wonderful. So it sounds like this is something that you knew from the beginning that you wanted to be a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once I read it, you get a lot of scripts and you have your moments where it's like, okay, I can kind of see myself, or I don't really connect with this, and it takes you some time to get into it. But when I read it, I was like, oh, I'm AJ. I have to get this. It was one of those moments where I was like, when I see this on TV, if I'm not in it, I'm gonna be pissed. So I knew I had to get one.
Yeah, no, that's really funny. So your character AJ, herself, what is it like playing her?
AJ is very she goes like she's like a roller coaster ride. She has these like little moments of just vulnerability, and she's also just that voice of reason, like people have heard me say before, but she's very, very strong. And I think that's what also made me connect with her as well. I feel like I'm a strong woman. She's a strong young Black woman at that. And then she's just herself. She's very cynical, but she's funny at the same time. But she is very clear headed. And then she also is just human. And that's what I loved about her too. She had all of these great qualities about herself, just very responsible to be a 24-year-old cop in this very small town, and then to take on this role with her friend of like, okay, let's do this, let's create our own country. But then she also has that, the little secret parts of her where, she has the affair with the mayor's wife. And, she's just human and she's flawed. And that's what I think I love about her and all the characters in the Republic of Sarah, because they are very triumphant, but they're just people too.
Mhm. Yes, I enjoy shows that kind of pride themselves on having multi-layered characters. Um, not too perfect and they're flawed, and it's interesting to see how they navigate that little space. Um, for you, I'm curious as to if you see any of yourself in AJ, and what does it take for you to get into the role of playing her every time you go on set?
Yes. Well, I think AJ also has this very just be a badass aura to herself. I think that's why her and Sarah connect so much. They have the whole punk rock thing going on where they like that hard, heavy metal music. But she also has these tiny little aspects of herself where you just get to see her sensitivity, and you get to see it with Alexis, her secret partner, and then you're also going to see it when they incorporate aspects of her family where it's just moments where you have to be strong and you have to take things for what they are. And I think what made me connect to AJ was like I've been a very young woman in a place where I had to be responsible and had to be in spaces where I was younger but had to think like an adult. And even though they're 24 years old, creating your own country is not necessarily something that you decide to do at 24 years old. So I think that's what helps me connect with AJ, me, myself, Nia, is she's very, strong and she's flawed, but she's responsible. And she respects that responsibility, and she holds it, near and dear to herself.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Did you have any challenges at all in playing her?
I would say, yeah, I think that during the time where the space that we were in, filming during a pandemic, which was
Mhm.
a blessing and a whole challenge in itself, because we filmed in Montreal, but the border was shut down. So once you got there, you were kind of just there. And I spent a lot of time away from my family, and I'm come from a very, very tight knit family. So spending a lot of time by myself, kind of a lot of seclusion, but then having to go on set and play this very, very fierce, fearless, strong character. Sometimes, I didn't really feel like I had it, but actually going on set and playing this character, I actually drew from AJ's strength a lot. So it was beautiful being able to play her during that time, specifically.
Mhm. No, that's wonderful. Without giving too much away or without exposing too much, I'm curious as to if you see a future with AJ. We get continue her story a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're gonna get some more, especially tonight in tonight's episode.
Mhm.
On coming on this Monday on the 12th, you're gonna get a little bit more of a glimpse into her and Alexis's relationship. But I think later on in the season, people are really gonna get that behind closed doors feel of AJ, and people are gonna, I think, really have big moments of like, wow, you would never think she was going through that. And I think that was also one of the most beautiful parts when I would get the script and I would read these things and see what she was going through. I'll be like, oh my God, you would never think a 24-year-old cop, in Greylock in this small little tiny town will be keeping this to herself and holding all these things to herself. So I think that's going to be a really fun thing for people to get to explore through AJ and just get to see another side of her.
Mhm. Yes, that's wonderful. That's great. And I look forward to tonight's episode.
Hey, good.
um, Pivoting a little bit, I'd like to talk about some more of your professional work.
Yeah.
Um, Coming from a fellow Atlanta native, I was very excited to see that you were also from Atlanta and you got your start kind of in the Atlanta theater scene. And then you went to New York and you played Nala in The Lion King, which is a phenomenal show that I've seen. And I'm glad to I finally know somebody who was in the cast. So that's really incredible. That national tour for the show, what was that experience like?
Wow, that was so. I'm blessed enough to be the youngest woman to play the role of Nala. I was 17 years old, so I went from being, I went to school. I'm from the North Side, and I grew up in Norcross, Georgia. I went to Norcross High School, graduated from Norcross High School, and I went from being, a junior in high school on the basketball team. I was a part of the 2013 state champions, and I went from that to during that time I was doing local theater, and this audition came up for The Lion King, and a family friend actually sent it to us, and I went to it, and it went from being a high school student to finishing high school my junior year, and then a month later being preparing to go on tour, and my life was a 360 turn from there. So it was just, amazing experience. I learned some beautiful things and some crazy things, but I think all of it just truly taught me, who I wanted to be as an entertainer, but who I wanted to be as a woman in this world in entertainment, and just it really made me respect the craft even more. It really made me dive into the craft even more, and it really gave me an opportunity to just grow from my fellow actors, and I really made lifelong friends in that. So it just was a unique experience. I call it Lion King College because I didn't get to go to college, but it was such a part of my formative years, and I just learned an incredible amount. And still today, I go into the world, and now I'm working in TV, hopefully in film next, and I'm just seeing all of these lessons that I learned on tour starting to come back to me. So I'm just incredibly grateful for that experience.
No, that's amazing, especially at such a young age. I will tell you,
Yeah.
at 17, I was not doing any of that. I grew up on the South Side. Actually, it's funny that we're both, but I was not doing any of those things at 17. So kudos to you. I imagine having all of that, pressure at a young age was a lot.
Yeah.
Um, how did you prepare exactly to start doing the show? Did you have any mentors that really kind of helped you through, especially when you're 17, fresh out of high school?
Right. My biggest mentors have always been my parents, my mom and my dad. Just people who they have just sown into me incredibly. And, my sisters have sown into me incredibly. But my first year on tour, I was finishing my senior year of high school still. So my father actually came on tour with me. My mother stayed at home with my two younger sisters. And it was a lot of, I had this moment actually, you probably know there's a place here called Yogurtland in Georgia. And it was a place, this little spot in my town where I would always go. And I was having this little breakdown my first 2 weeks on tour. I was just like, I just want Yogurtland. My dad had to tell me, he was like, if you don't want to do this, we can go home right now. But if you're going to do this, you got to, put on your big girl underwear and you got to do this because I'm not going to be able to be out here with you. And it just really clicked me into this space of, when you really ask for something, that's why they always say, be careful what you ask for. Because it made me just understand to whom much is given, much is required. And I was just, I guess it was just one of those moments where you kind of throw a kid in the pool and they learn how to swim. And sometimes that's the best way to do it, because it really, really made me appreciate my experience, and it really humbled me to life, because you're not going to have everything figured out. But when you want something, it just requires a lot of sacrifice. But in the end, it always works out, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great lesson. That's a wonderful lesson. And me personally, I'm dying to know, do you ever see yourself returning to that stage, theater aspect after you do a little bit of TV, maybe?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Actually, I was just speaking with one of my friends who's in Hamilton. Hamilton is coming to Atlanta soon, and I can't wait to see it. I actually haven't seen it yet. And he's talking to me about it. A lot of my friends are getting ready to go back on tour, and I'm just getting this bug, and it's just like itching me to get back onto the stage. So I definitely can't wait for one day. I'm getting my feet wet right now in TV, and I want to get my feet wet in film too. But that's will always be a passion of mine. I have so much respect for the craft of theater, musical theater. Those performers are some of the hardest working people in this industry. So it's definitely, where my heart is. And I hope to, be originating a musical or a play or, something of that nature. But the Broadway stage is definitely calling me. Yes. Or they should definitely be calling me.
Yes, I will keep my fingers crossed that I get to see you again, because that was a phenomenal show.
It is a beautiful show,
More of a personal, I'm curious as to, I studied journalism. I'm a journalism student. But at home, I'm not familiar with the musical theater scene for Atlanta high school students. I'm curious as to how you got your start. You started very young. And then once you got high school age, then you got the opportunities to move and participate in these.
Yes, I actually wasn't a part of the musical theater community in my high school, but I did local theater at the time where I actually was in the process of auditioning for The Lion King. I was doing a local play called Superstar Dreams. And it's just so important. Atlanta always provided, just like my mother always kept me in things, like if it was a workshop or it was some type of lesson or acting lesson. And Atlanta is a beautiful space where they really do create opportunities for young people to cultivate their talent. So it really didn't happen for me in the school, but it happened for me in the city.
That's great. That's wonderful. As being in New York, you run into all the theater kids, and I'm glad that there's a space for kids to kind of cultivate their talents at a young age. So that's wonderful. And I also am dying to know, you have a beautiful singing voice, and I'm wondering if you're going to kind of branch into a future singing career of any kind. I'm crossing my fingers. Yes.
Absolutely. I come from a family of singers. My great grandmother was Sylvia Shimwell. She was part of the Sweet Inspirations. My grandmother is Lolita Holloway. She's most known for her song "Love Sensation" and "Good Vibrations" with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, or Mark Wahlberg. And so it's just in the blood. And right now I do have 2 singles available on all streaming platforms. One is called Young Gods, and another is called I'm Your Lady. But yes, I definitely have some more music coming very soon. For those who didn't catch episode 4, get to see a little hints of that. AJ singing a little tune. The creator of the show, he actually gave me the opportunity to sing Gloria by Vivaldi, which I think he just threw this at me. I do not sing, opera at all. So when he gave me the piece, I was like, wow, you truly, truly believe in me. I really thank you for this. But it was an amazing opportunity. But yes, I definitely will have more music coming later this season. So just people keep up with me on social media, because I have some singles that are a little outside of what you may have heard from me before. It definitely doesn't have a musical theater vibe, but I think it's some music that people are definitely going to vibe with.